Well, welcome back, and we're still here with Leon in the GoYe Village Gardens, and we moved over the tomatoes here. And Leon, this was a pretty good year for tomatoes. They didn't get froze back or anything. I guess you've had a good production through the year. You said you had 4 varieties. What
Yes.
varieties did you grow?
I have 2 of the little round yellow ones called Sun Sugar. I have 1 large yellow one called Golden Girl. I have 2 Roma, and then the rest are the Better Boy tomato.
They're all indeterminate, right?
The Golden Girl is a determinate plant.
Okay. And did it put on early and
It was
you
earlier,
had a big flush of growth?
It was a little earlier than the Better Boy, and the Roma, much earlier than the Roma.
A lot of people grow Celebrity. Have you had good luck with that, or you rather have indeterminate varieties?
Well, I think I might try the Celebrity next year. I tried 2 or 3 of them 4 or 5 years ago, and they didn't produce as well as the Better Boy, so I went back to the Better Boy. But I have an objection about the Better Boy. They seem to crack bad around the stem area.
Yeah, and we really haven't had variable enough water conditions this year to really cause that. I know some years we'll be so dry for so long, and then we just get this big flush of rain, and you end up with a lot of cracking. But we really haven't had that bad this summer.
Yeah, and in addition, you can see I mulched heavy with leaves around the tomatoes.
Yeah.
So,
do you ever spray the tomato plants with fungicide or you just try to mulch and that's it?
No, I don't. I haven't sprayed with fungicide, but I may try it right away. Also, perhaps with 7, something was eating bad on the Better Boys on 1 or 2 of my plants. They would I never could see what was doing it. Must have been some kind of worm, but they would really eat it bad, and that would ruin the tomato.
Yeah. Well, you really want to watch 7 when you're trying to get the bees in to pollinate, but at the same time, you can't afford to have that going on. You were saying that this Roma tomato had a problem with it this year?
Not just the Roma, but the Better Boy too. It was blotchy, white appearing areas, and when you would cut into them, the flesh under the skin was little blotchy white areas.
There are some years that we end up having more just white occur in the tomatoes, but also this year there was some what they call anthracnose. Have you ever had a problem with that? People would pick their tomato and everything would look pretty good, and it would just be starting to turn, take it inside, and it would just get these round spots that were soft and kind of white looking, and it would just kind of go downhill from there. And you talk about disheartening when you get it all the way to the point that you get it in the house.
Yeah.
You think you're safe. So I had some of that this year, and you know, there's always different things, different years, but that was one of the main things that we noticed this year. Yeah. And that could have been a little bit. Did you notice it happening when you got it inside?
Yes.
Okay.
I noticed that they would look real good.
Yeah.
In fact, because of the mockingbirds ruining tomatoes, I picked them early after they're turning and take them in and put them out on the balcony to ripen. And they would look good, but later there'd be these spoil spots occur on them.
Yeah.
And just take the whole tomato.
This was, since I've been here, absolutely the worst year for blossom end rot. Did you have much of that?
No, I've never had any problem with that.
Well, that's good. Blossom end rot is pretty much attributed to the calcium in the soil and the plant not being able to take up enough calcium and put it all into the tomato plant. So on the far end of it, it'll just kind of rot away and be all mushy, and people will think that it's some type of disease, but it's just that lack of calcium. But chances are, well, not chances are, a lot of people have container gardens. And you'll overwater pretty bad, and that's one of the #1 things on having blossom end rot is the overwatering. And I'd say where y'all are at here and with everything that we've had, you probably haven't had the overwatering like a lot of people do.
Right.
I know at my place I had my tomatoes on automatic water, and they were only getting 5 minutes a day, but I noticed some blossom end rot. I just shut that watering system off, and that kind of cured the deal. So you can do that. A lot of people put bone meal out with their tomatoes, and that extra calcium kind of helps. But this year, for some reason, was just as bad as.
I have a question. I remember I grew up in kind of south central Kansas. I remember people used to put Epsom salts around their tomatoes to make them, they said, grow better. What's the deal on that?
Epsom salts is magnesium sulfate, and there are several plants that just really love magnesium, and so tomato happens to be one of them. And whenever you put it on the plant or put it in the ground, it really helps. Magnesium also gets taken up by the leaf and translocated real well. You know, people talk about foliar applying nutrients, and that's all fine and dandy, but the plant has to take it up and then translocate it to other parts of the plant. And if it doesn't do that, like with iron, it just sits there and turns it green and really doesn't help it any. But magnesium is real well taken up by the leaves and translocated in the plant. So tomatoes, peppers, magnolia trees, roses, and azaleas are all plants that are grown around here that the Epsom salts will really help.
Okay.
And being that it's magnesium sulfate, it doesn't burn the ground up or do anything, you know, like nitrogen would if you put too much out. So really a little bit or a lot really helps on that. So, you know. Now, as good a ground as this is, why that's probably not as necessary as someone who might be growing it in some worse ground, but still won't hurt anything to put some Epsom salts out. Might try it on your Goliath peppers you're talking about too.
Yeah. I have a question. Right there where our cameraman is in front of him, I've planted carrots. I've noticed that carrots grown in the spring here are very pale, kind of slender, and almost a bitter taste. I plant my carrots in July and let them mature in the fall, and they grow larger. They are a deeper orange, and they're sweet.
Yeah, I've never known of anyone planting carrots in the spring that did any good. But some years back, while people got to where they were planting them like you are, getting them through the winter, and of course, that can sometimes be a trick. It hadn't been as much the past few years. How did they weather the winter that we had last year?
I didn't get a good stand on my carrots last year, so I dug them before the real winter set in.
Okay.
But now I've grown them, and they do well in the winter until about January or 1st of February, when the weather might start to moderate some, and they'll try to put on growth, and that takes the moisture out of them, the carrot.
Yeah. Well, when I've known of people planting them in the fall and getting them through the winter, they usually mulch them so heavy that the plants just don't really break dormancy or do anything until it's really time for them to come on. But you know, growing carrots in an area like this is is a iffy deal, as you well know, and sounds like you've kind of hit on at least something that works.
Yeah, I've had some really good carrots.